Okay, you're on.
Am I audible? Do I sound like you can hear me clearly?
Why can't you see me?
I can't see you too well, but I can hear you.
Wave your hand. Yes, I see you move. I see you move. It works. Nobody moved. Nobody moved from wherever they are. Everybody, all of you are in the right place.
Okay, so welcome to take number 7. I think we're at 7 now of Stories with Shastri. Today we are going to talk to Shobhana. I happened to meet Shobhana while I was working somewhere actually, and eventually we became friends. And we're actually going to be discussing burnouts. Uh, because I think we both have some kind of experience in that. We are not mental health professionals, so please don't look at any of that advice here. But you can probably try to understand how we've dealt with it, how she's dealt with it, how I've dealt with it, why we think it's happening. So I'm going to add her in a bit. Hello to all of you. I don't see you. I see your
I
screen.
can't see myself.
Have you
Okay, where is this? Sorry. Okay, here I am. Sorry. Hi.
hilarious. That's gold
Hi.
content for me right there.
Yeah, it's been too long being confined at home.
How have you been? I haven't seen you in a while.
A long time now. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
I
a
think
while since we met.
I think around Jan was when we met last.
Must have been, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so
I,
can you tell
I
me
live
once?
sorry.
No, go
I said
ahead.
I live in
Please.
Pune because of work, right? So I work at seniority. I take care of uh, part of marketing, part of the whole website experience. I take care of that. And because I live between Pune and Bangalore, I've been moving in and out. So it's been that for the last 1 odd year. Yeah.
And what are you working on right now? I mean, what were you working on before you took your break?
So, see, when coronavirus, this phase started, right? Seniority caters to senior citizens. So we needed to build something to help our community members, like to find them more help. So we did three things, which is find all the important information. That was, partnering with different health startups, etc. Second thing that we did was, just mobilizing a volunteer platform. And the third thing, which took a lot of my time, was building that tool where seniors can monitor their health on a daily basis. So I think we started work on around 25th of March. So, I think most of it, right? Because I didn't want to think about this whole situation, I sort of dove headfirst into work. That was my version of banana bread, so to say. How everybody was making banana bread or working out, like, these people went on an overdrive, right? Sort of like, because they had some time to themselves. Me diving headfirst into work was my version of banana bread, I think. I would put in I would start my day at 8 o'clock, and I think it would be till 10, 11 before I could, even call it a day. So it is getting really hectic, and working from home when your entire team is scattered all over. It's it's very hectic. You can barely take time out from your laptop or your phone. You're constantly responsive. You're constantly paying attention to the different WhatsApp groups. So it's very, very, very hectic for me. So I actually had to take a break, just to calm myself down.
And what made you think that uh, this was the time to take one? I mean, what was that pushing point for you?
I realized there were three things, right? So first was I lost my sense of structure, that I get from going to the office every day, right? So I go to the office at 10:30 every morning. So I wake up in the morning with that mindset, my mind is, what do you call that? My day is structured that way. That I reach office at 10:30, and till 1 I'm going to do this kind of work, and after that I'm going to have these meetings. And having lost that structure, it just it cost everything that I have. I'm usually very planned and very structured in the way that I my day, right? So just like it tossed everything out of the window, right? That is one, the loss of structure. Then when you what do you call that? When you go out, you meet people, or you're just generally catching up with people, or just generally meeting people. There's that sense of stimulation that you get from people, right? Like I met you. I mean, in times when we could drink around, like go out freely, right? So we met, and then we've grown. I have grown a lot from you, right? I've learned a lot from you. So that's what you take away from all the people that you meet, right? So that was one. And the second thing is, all around the world there have been pay cuts, right? I mean, there have been pay cuts. People have lost their jobs. Now everybody is talking about how you just need to focus on your work. Everybody is taking an equal amount of burn in this whole situation. That we're all in this together. But it's easier said than done, right? I mean, I had certain financial goals for the year, which is now again gone out of the window because pay cuts have happened. So now, one is that loss of structure. Second was this whole thing about mourning the death of my financial goals for the year. And the third thing is, of course, the virus is spreading, right? I mean, there's no stopping it right now till the time they find a vaccination for it. So I'm worried about my health. I'm worried about my father's health. I'm worried about my family's health, right? So there's this constant sense of anxiety. And I think I came to a place where I couldn't function. Even doing something very basic, like, making myself breakfast was taking a toll on me. I mean, it began to sort of, in fact, I've had bad days. I was just telling you about it, right? In fact, during this weekend, I could barely even move because I was so overwhelmed, right? Overwhelmed with my anxiety, completely burned out because of the kind of hectic work hours that I've been having. So I mean, I actually had to take a step back and decide that I need to take a break. I mean, I felt a lot more centered, I think. But at the same time, the anxieties are not going to go away very soon, right? Because you see, the thing is, nobody has the answers right now, right? Nobody knows what to do. This is the first time for any of us. Like the last time there was an epidemic was in 1918, right? And this is the first time anybody in this world is actually dealing with this situation, whether we're talking about government authorities, whether we're talking about, whatever authorities that we look to for answers. Nobody is likely to have an answer right now, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's been one of those very anxiety-inducing moments, and those anxieties I understand are not going to go away soon enough. But what I can do is, and this is after my discussion with my therapist, right, that there are many things that are not within my control. What I can control is probably, the way I have, certain expectations from my work. So I have to rationalize it. So I actually have to tell myself every day that I start my day only at 10:30 in the morning. Take some time to collect myself, prepare myself for the day, and have that basic structure for myself. My productivity is not going to be as it was maybe while I was in the office, while we had the freedom of movement, right? So I have to rationalize my expectations. And anxiety is about coronavirus again. Things are beyond my control. Like what I can control is practicing my safety standards, avoiding going out. I haven't gone out, of course. I mean, nobody is going out. It's not advised. So I don't know. Those are the two things that I'm doing right now. And I think my friends have been very supportive. They've been checking in on me. In fact, I think that's a huge respite right now. My phone. In fact, even my father, having long discussions with him, as nagging as he is, right? I mean, still continuing those conversations with him just to maintain that normalcy.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the
And
things that I'm doing.
and how do you think, or actually, my question would be more on the lines of why do you think sometimes we need to take a break? Because, so like I told you earlier, I was looking up about the burnout as a phenomenon, and it was so it comes under the WHO's classification of diseases, but it is not a medical condition. And they define it as resulting from chronic workspace stress that has not been successfully managed. And it is specifically meant to be used in the occupational context and not for other, aspects of life. So, uh, what do you think causes something like that to happen in a job that we're working so hard to excel at?
See
Almost
what
all of us
happens
are.
is, yeah, so at least from where I come, right? I mean, there's a lot of stress on productivity, right? Over the last, I think over the last 5 to 6 years, from what I have seen, is there's this there's this constant stress on hyper productivity. Everything needs to be done now. Also because I work in the consumer internet space, right? So everything needs to be everything can be instantly. There's instant gratification for everything that you do. At least what I do, right? So what happens is there's a lot of pressure on productivity, right? So as soon as you've completed goal one, there are five other goals that are lined up. Right? So there's always this thing: what is the next milestone that you're going to achieve, right? So within the workspace, I think the expectations have been what do you call that? They've been stretched to a point where I think stretching oneself has become too glorified. Like, I will do this, I will do that, I will do that also. I think that mentality. We've stopped caring for, at least from my own experience, right? I pay very little attention to what I'm eating, or when I'm deep within my work, I pay very little attention to my relationships, I think. Right? There have been times my friend lives very close to where I live in Pune. Right? And there are times when neither of us can meet each other because it gets that hectic with work. So I think paying less attention to yourself and aligning yourself far too much with business objectives, right?
Okay.
And glorifying hyper productivity is what is probably causing this burnout, right? And if you see right now, because we've all taken this, let's just call it a break, so to say, right? We've sort of put a halt to the way we
Yeah.
function. We're suddenly finding it very, what do you call that? Very disorienting, right? And a lot of this burnout is happening because we suddenly realize, oh my God, like, this is the same way I might have functioned. And this is probably not healthy. We're not taking time out to do things that we enjoy, right?
Mm.
So I think that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why burnout happens.
I do agree with a lot of that. But so the thing is, how I see it is that I don't see it as something that just has something to do with the lockdown right now, because I've seen it happen with a lot of people, and I'm sure you agree that it's happened with a lot of people over time. It happened with me. I mean, I remember you seeing me and
Yeah.
realizing that I needed to, calm down a little bit. And but then I'm still trying to, put a finger as to why something like that would happen. Because I remember there was a point where I was working for 4 months straight, and then I just fell to bed and I didn't get up for 5 days. And I want to understand that, do you think we are growing impatient with ourselves? Because you mentioned happy productivity.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you actually you never thought you could achieve and you did?
It was a very good turning point for my career, at least, right? Because I was working for a huge brand, and there was this everybody knew about us, right? So whatever I was doing at that time had this instant glorifying factor to it. Like, I just felt so happy that I could drive people to do something, right? I've been in marketing for all of my life, right? So, and we had multiple categories. So when we were doing that, right, there was constant gratification that I would get, and I was actually quite fulfilled. I had no reasons to complain. One, because, I was looking at it as a turning point of my career, right? So I would have no problems doing what I was doing. In fact, even now, I think, I mean, I've met you after a long day at work. You've seen how I function, right? I mean, I come and do a karaoke takeover where I don't let anybody else sing. So I think, that's one way of, that's one way for me to deal with stress, right? But yeah, having said that, you reach that burnout point, right? How much can you corrode yourself? It's very chafing, right?
Yeah,
Continue functioning that way without ever taking a pause. It's like something's got to give, right? It affects your balance, your sense of balance. It it affected my sense of balance definitely, right? So yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm taking a longer break now because I went on a leave for only 2 days last week, but I'm going to extend that and take this whole week off and not do anything because there's nothing that one can do right now. But I just want to relax and I just want to vegetate. I want to cook for myself because I'm alone at home right now. So, but I just need this time and just to do things that I like. I'll probably be doodling around or just write because I like writing. So I think that's what I'll be doing. Even catch up with friends who I haven't caught up in a very, very long time. Call them up. Just, I don't know. It's been a while since I've just with my friends, my college friends. So, do that because that's also very like just talking to your old friends, going back to talking about your past, because when you talk about your past, you always realize that you were happy, right?
yeah.
So just go back. I think I'm going to spend the week doing that.
Okay, that sounds like a fun week actually to me because
Yeah,
I would probably there's nothing else I would rather do. So,
yeah,
have you ever been in denial about being stressed at work or about work?
yeah. You constantly because there's so much peer pressure, right? I mean, there's
Yeah,
always somebody. There's always somebody. We are in India, right? We're just so many of us, right? So there's
yeah,
always somebody there waiting to sort of do your job, right?
yeah,
You always have to be on top of your game. So I've been exhausted, right? Like I felt like a shredded lasagna, you know, at
hmm,
most times, but I would still continue working because what's shredded lasagna when there's appraisal season hanging on to your neck, right? Like, if there's your appraisal season breathing on your neck, you don't care about how exhausted you feel, you only care about that milestone. That, once the appraisal is done, you will be fine. That's the mindset that you work with. So I think, yeah, I mean, I've been in denial of my, this whole burnout situation, where I've been exhausted so many times. But I refuse to sort of take a note of that because, again, objectives, your business objectives, right? You stay aligned with
yeah,
the goals that have been set. So yeah,
yeah.
and then staying ahead of the curve, etc.
So because I'm specifically looking at burnouts as something to talk about, I looked at the five. Something I found was that apparently there are 5 stages of a burnout. It starts with the phase where you take up a task. with a lot of zest and enthusiasm. That's your first stage. Your second stage, it's called the honeymoon phase, according to the website I was on, which is really silly. Then you have the stress onset, where you slowly start to panic and you don't know what to do and how to deal with it. Then the third stage is chronic stress, which means you avoid that work. And then four is burnout, and fifth is habitual burnout. And I never knew about habitual burnout up until earlier today, because habitual burnout is basically where it's embedded in you so much. So it's so much a part of you that it does affect you physically and mentally. What do you think about something like that? Something like that affecting a person like in such a way that they burn out so often.
I think I've reached your fifth stage, because to be very honest, I think Tuesday last week, right? I'm so habitually burnt out. I mean, one is I constantly keep traveling between Bangalore, Bombay, and Pune, right? So, those cab rides are so bloody stressful, especially when you have to come from Bangalore airport to Bangalore, right? So that is one. And I'm habitually burnt out. And I think last week is when I physically started feeling that I was unable to move,
Yeah.
right? Like I was so exhausted, right? That even leaving my bed was a task for me. I couldn't stand for too long. And yeah, I mean, I frankly had no idea what was happening. In fact, I was imagining, thousands of symptoms, your coronavirus symptoms, because obviously there's also this paranoia around, right? I have, I haven't traveled abroad this year at least, and I haven't been in contact with anyone who has tested positive. Neither am I showing any other, symptoms. But the fact that I was tired out of my element, it just like it made me paranoid. Maybe I started thinking maybe you know I'm going down that. I just started spiraling, right? That was on Tuesday evening, and then I had similar episode again on Saturday, right, when I absolutely could not move. So this is that habitual burnout, right? And then at least now I've gone beyond that denial phase, right, where I recognize that this is not something that I can continue doing to myself. So
But then I think that's good. How many other people do you think live in that kind of space?
see, right now at this time, right, at least 6 out of 10 people are going through massive anxieties, right, because of everything that's happening.
No, I mean
Can you
people
hear?
working.
See, everybody is working from home, right? Everybody is working remotely. And this working from home is not normal, right? There's chores to do at home. And so this is not really normal. And at this time, people are also spending time thinking about, the way we've worked in the past, right? The basically sort of introspecting on how we function all along, right? So, yeah.
So, but I'm thinking about it more on the lines of someone who is burning out or close to burning out, but is in denial about burning out. Have you ever encountered that with let's say, a colleague, where you've had to tell them, just go home?
Yeah, plenty of times, in fact, plenty of times because, see, as much as you want to keep it professional, right? We're still spending about 8 to 10 hours every day together. So I think it takes a lot of, in fact, two of my closest friends are my ex colleagues, and they're my huge strength and support, right? I get all my sense. I think if I have to structure any of my thoughts, I connect with them, right? They're my conscience. I mean, they help me structure all my thoughts. Now, having said that, you end up spending so much time with your colleagues, right? You understand how the other person person functions, right? And it's very easy to see how the other person is burning out. But then the thing is, because there are these business goals that need to be achieved, it's not always possible to send this person or suggest to this person that this person takes a break. It's not possible because there are dependencies. Right? But then, having said that, I think we all need to practice. I don't know. Compassion is a very big word, right? And it might even sound like a very cliched thing to say. But then again,
I think
probably
it's
it's
necessary.
empathy, right? Empathy. You understand the other person and sort of step in wherever possible, because make it a point to sort of like just make that human connection even while at work. That what you look like you could do with some help. How is it that I can
Yeah.
help? Offering that support. I would very much appreciate that. And saying that, I think I messaged my boss, right, last week when I was not feeling up to it. I messaged him and I said, I'm going to take a sick leave because, not because I'm unwell, but it's just that I'm so exhausted that I cannot function. And I have too many anxieties to work with. And his
Yeah.
first reaction was, yeah, please go ahead, and let me know if you want to talk about anything. Which I think, I really appreciate that because there are a lot of people who do not understand mental health needs, right? People who don't completely understand how we function as humans. And, there's this God level, superhuman level perspective. So I think I'm just glad that, my boss, he was very open to the idea of me taking this break on account of my, I don't know, nervousness.
Well, I'm glad you have someone like that around. So, have you ever been in a place where you have avoided taking a break for yourself because your team needed you, or because you thought your team needed you at that point?
Yes, there are many, uh, there are many times we have this thing. I think it's all within us that we keep thinking that maybe something will not function, right? And that is only an illusion that you have within yourself. I think I have this lovely team that I work with. So there have been times when they've told me, please go home. Because this is it. You should not stretch yourself further. So that way, I think it's very supportive. But I also wanted to stick around because if my team is working, it's not justified that, I take a break for myself. So I've done that for myself, I think. And a lot of my team members do that too. And I'm trying to bring in that sense of balance within my team as well. And yeah, hopefully, by the end of this week, I would want people to take a break turn by turn. So, yeah.
Eventually. What do you think could be the formula of work-life balance? That sense of balance that you just spoke about.
I don't think I don't think that any one right answer for this, right? As long as you feel like you're doing something that is adding value or it's contributing to something larger. Right? It could be at work, it could be at home. The fact that I'm able to help my son and be there for him whenever he needs me. That is one way of contributing. That is something that is fulfilling for me. Uh, the other thing is, even at work, right? If I'm doing something that is not adding up to a larger picture, it's not going to make any sense. I can work for 8 hours and not make any difference. But if I have to stretch myself a little bit while adding to a larger picture, I think making that contribution, having that sense of adding to something else that is larger than myself, that is what I call work-life balance for myself, right? And it depends. It's a very relative concept, right? So as long as I As long as I feel fulfilled with what I'm doing, I think that's my work-life balance.
Well, I will accept that answer. I think
Okay.
that was it. It does make sense. Uh, where do you? What do you do when you see your energy levels decreasing when you're working on something for your for your occupation, not personally, but if you can feel your energy levels actually just draining. Because if you're going into overdrive, let's say you have a deadline coming up, and
Mhm.
suddenly you just don't have the energy to deal with it anymore. So what do you do when you see that drop in your efficacy, in your way of dealing with things? How do you deal with it?
I take a nap. I can take
Okay,
a nap
lucky. I
on.
don't.
I can
I can't
switch
do
off for
that.
20 minutes. I can take a nap
Yeah, I can
wherever
switch
possible.
off also. But I can also do that. I can sleep wherever. I just that I won't wake up for 8 hours.
Oh
Wherever I
no, no, I
sleep,
can
even if
time
I'm
my I
sleeping.
can time myself. I can time my sleep. One thing is I hate alarm clocks. It makes me very it makes me when an alarm goes off, it makes me very what do you call that? It makes me very nervous. The sound of an alarm. So what I do is if I've let's say I've put an alarm for 7 o'clock, I'll wake up at 6:55, turn off the alarm, and then go about because I just don't like listening to alarms. I mean, it just bothers me to that level. So I usually do that. So when I feel that, I need to sort of like, I feel sapped of all my energies, I think I quickly take a nap. That's the best thing that happened.
Oh, I probably blame my burnout for that because I used to be the person who would do something like that. But then there were times where I knew exactly what time I wanted to wake up. It would be down to the minute where I'd be like, I want to wake up at 7:34 in the morning, and I'd be up at 7:34 in the morning.
Yeah.
And but now it's horrible. My mother has a very tough time with me in general, so I can't do that. But okay, taking a nap is something good. What else would you do if taking a nap at that moment is not an option?
Do you watch Big Bang Theory?
I have watched it. Yeah.
You know how Sheldon keeps talking about, taking that hot, warm beverage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that definitely works. Having something nice and warm. Yep, I've rested my phone on the cup, so I'm not taking this up right now. But,
Oh
having
yeah.
that
Focus. Because then we
food,
will
yeah,
be.
food. I mean, just like, I don't know, I think as unhealthy as it sounds, food is a
Oh
complete, what do you call that? A very quick pick me up, right? You eat
yeah.
something oily, greasy, sinful, and you feel so much better right after it because you'll have guilt after that. No, yeah,
I
you'll have guilt probably after a bit. But
don't like it. I'm not very fond of oily food in general. I'm trying to look for advice for
who are
myself right
you?
now.
Who are you?
I don't like it. It's me. It's going to give me pimples, and I already have like an acne breakout all over my face. I don't need it, and it puts like heat in my
Let's not
body.
talk
I don't
about
need.
acne breakout itself. When all of this is over, I'll need to find a parlor that has experience in waxing a bear.
I think they're going
Anyway,
to the grooming industry is going to boom after this is done.
I know
So
that's
it's, but a lot of industries I see are booming right now, and a lot of them are stagnant. But they, as soon as everyone's allowed to go out, they're going to see such a mad shift. And there's some of them who are just going to take a hit for about 5 years that we just know. And
yeah,
it's quite funny to look at it because I remember today I was cleaning my vessels, and I was just thinking about what it was like because while I understand burnout far too well, simply because I I know I went through it and it resulted in me absolutely needing to quit my job.
yeah,
But I remember now since the lockdown has started, while I had I'm a freelance photographer also. So if I didn't I had a bunch of assignments planned up, and nothing worked out because everyone shut down, shut shop. And I first thought, okay, you know what, I'm just going to see how it goes. And I have, I'm actually waiting to be bored right now. I feel like all of that energy I saved up back then is going into overdrive right now, where I'm creating rugs, stuff, and it's it's quite interesting. I feel like maybe what has worked for me is channelizing it or doing something menial or something that I would see as menial, because we all look at our own emotional prowess, our own emotional, intellectual, and emotional, and yeah, emotional, intellectual, and physical. Sorry, our physical prowess in different levels within our own heads. And but I look at it in a way where if I'm working on, say, writing something in particular, right, I would probably end up, doing something completely different. And in my head, something menial is probably study like some random research paper about a random topic that's been in my head, or sign up for an online MOOC and take, the first module, because then I can come back to it or just go and do something else. But I don't know how. I'm still trying to understand how a lot of people who aren't in that space are dealing with something like that, because as of now, thankfully, I'm blessed to not have to worry about the money bit. But there are a lot of people who I know who depend on this, people who live alone, and they have just lost their jobs. But they were actually, well, some of them well in time because they were going to burn out. So good for them that they haven't, even though I may not say that immediately to them. But I still see this need for people to come in and just, prove themselves or to do something. Gets a bit much because we are, like we spoke about earlier, we are growing impatient.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, right? Because there's this, I think one is not many, like, let's say, like I mentioned, right? I mean, I'm able to do a few things. I can do some things like I've been doodling, right? I've been writing, but I cannot put my mind to reading. I used to read quite voraciously earlier, but I'm just not able to focus on reading, right? So a lot of people are not able to focus on doing something, channelizing, so to say. I mean, people are burnt out to a level, remote working burnout. It's so much that some people are not able to focus at all. Now, I think that is, I mean, calming down a little bit, taking some time out would definitely help. I mean, you don't have to do anything, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I keep telling myself, right? If I'm not able to focus on something, I'm okay with not doing anything. I'm just okay to
yeah,
vegetate on my bed and not do anything, not have to talk to anyone, right? Because even talking
yeah,
to somebody sometimes can feel such a burden, right? And then the second part
yeah,
of it is, people sort of, say freelancers losing their gigs at this point of time, right? I think right
yes,
now yeah, I think right now what's more important is staying safe from the virus, right? I don't know when this is all over, we'll all get back to, we'll all get back to a place where we will get back to that, healthy work and that healthy streaming of finances, right? We can get back to that as long as we stay safe, right? I think that is more important, and I keep telling that to myself right now, that pay cuts might have happened, some people would have lost their jobs, etc. While I'm anxious about it, I'm just telling myself that it's okay. 3 months down the line, when things have normalized, it'll all be okay again. What I was planning to do in the month of November is something I'll probably have to do sometime next year, or when this is all over. Just sort of shift my own timelines, right? Shift my own goals and have those realistic expectations now, maybe. Basically just introspect and understand what are your expectations, and then, just, I don't know, align it with the times that we live in right now.
Yeah, and I get that. When would you think you would know that you've healed from the burnout?
When I feel absolutely, when I wake up in the morning and I don't think like, oh God, another day. When I stop, and it doesn't happen to me very often, right? I mean, I will wake up and take all of the sunshine along with me, right? I mean, I will wake up and feel like, oh my God, such a beautiful day and so much to do and so many things to do, so many people to meet, so many things to discover. And when I wake up with that sense of excitement for discovery, I think that is when I'll think that I'm okay again. When I look forward to things, when I'm not dreading going out. Once I again have that sense of joy and discovery, right? Once I get back to that self, I think that's when I'll know that I'm back in the game again.
So my question before we got cut off was, are you happy with your present job?
I am actually. I love what I do.
What do you look forward to with your work the most?
I think over the last 1 year, right, I've just had this beautiful team that I work with. I think I take a lot of, I take a lot from their energy. That is one. And the thing is, every day being able to do something that is larger than you, right? I mean, something that adds to a bigger picture is something that I quite enjoy. So, yeah,
Okay, that's great,
kind
and
of
I
beautiful.
hope you get that rest you want,
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
get to vegetate. Because vegetating is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I genuinely think, which
Yeah.
is great. I remember asking, "What are you doing?" And I go like, "I'm vegetating." That's all I'm doing. But yeah, and I wish you all the luck with seniority and everything you're doing with that. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you.